The relationship between perception and reality is one of the most intriguing questions in science. While we rely on our five senses, sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell, to interpret the world, some individuals report experiences that extend beyond conventional sensory input. Clairvoyance, often described as the ability to perceive events or information without direct sensory experience, is a phenomenon that has long been debated in psychology and neuroscience. On the other hand, synesthesia is a well-documented neurological condition where sensory pathways in the brain are cross-activated, allowing some individuals to see sounds, taste colors, or feel numbers. What if these two experiences, one widely accepted and the other controversial, are actually connected? Could scientific insights into synesthesia provide a new way of understanding seemingly paranormal phenomena like clairvoyance? To begin with, synesthesia is a real and measurable condition, supported by studies using functional MRI, fMRI, and electroencephalography, EEG. Research has shown that in synesthetes, sensory regions of the brain display increased connectivity, meaning their neurons communicate in ways that do not occur in most people. For example, a person with grapheme color synesthesia automatically associates numbers or letters with specific colors. When they see the number 5, they might always perceive it as green, regardless of its actual color. This is not imagination. Brain scans reveal activity in the visual cortex, even when there is no external stimulus of color. Other types of synesthesia, such as mirror touch synesthesia, cause individuals to physically feel what others experience. If someone sees another person being touched, they might feel the sensation on their own skin. This raises an important question. Could some forms of heightened perception be linked to unusual neural wiring, much like synesthesia? The idea of clairvoyance, or seeing information without using known senses, has been a subject of both skepticism and scientific curiosity. Some psychologists propose that what appears to be clairvoyance could be an enhanced ability to detect subtle environmental cues, such as microexpressions in human faces, minute temperature changes, or shifts in atmospheric pressure. This heightened sensitivity might allow some individuals to make accurate predictions without consciously realizing how they obtained the information. A famous example of this is remote viewing, a phenomenon studied in secret intelligence programs, including the CIA's Stargate project, where subjects attempted to describe distant locations or unseen objects under controlled conditions. Although many experiments remain controversial due to methodological issues, some results suggest that certain individuals performed above chance levels, leading to ongoing debate about whether subconscious perception or an undiscovered mechanism might be at play. Could synesthesia and clairvoyance share an underlying neural basis? If synesthetes can process multiple sensory inputs in unusual and involuntary ways, perhaps some individuals naturally integrate information across sensory domains more effectively than others. Consider a person who claims to feel the presence of a loved one before receiving a phone call from them. Rather than paranormal perception, this might involve the brain recognizing patterns of past behavior combined with subtle subconscious cues such as the time of day, recent interactions, or even electromagnetic signals from the phone. Similarly, some clairvoyant claims might arise from a heightened ability to detect and interpret signals that most people overlook, much like how synesthetes perceive sensory blends that others do not. Modern neuroscience is beginning to bridge the gap between unusual perception and scientifically measurable brain function. Research into quantum cognition and non-local consciousness, concepts that explore whether human thought could be influenced by principles similar to quantum entanglement, suggest that information transfer may not be as straightforward as classical physics assumes. If quantum effects play any role in neural processing, could certain individuals be more attuned to non-local information in ways we do not yet understand? Although clairvoyance remains unproven in controlled experiments, synesthesia provides a solid foundation for understanding how perception can differ drastically between individuals. If someone told you they could hear colors or taste words, you might be skeptical. Yet these experiences are verifiable through neuroscience. The next time we hear of an extraordinary ability, rather than dismissing it outright, we might ask, is it possible that their brain is wired differently in a way science has yet to fully explain. Synesthesia is a condition where stimulation of one sensory pathway involuntarily triggers experiences in another. This cross-activation is believed to result from hyperconnectivity between brain regions responsible for sensory processing, particularly in the fusiform gyrus and inferior temporal cortex. Neuroimaging studies have revealed that synesthetes exhibit increased activity in sensory regions that are not typically engaged during normal perception. For example, in grapheme color synesthesia, when a person sees a written number, their visual cortex activates not only in the area associated with shape recognition, but also in color processing regions. This suggests that synesthesia arises from structural and functional differences in the brain rather than imagination or learned associations. A person with chromesthesia, sound-to-color synesthesia, might perceive musical notes as having specific colors, such as middle C appearing as blue and G sharp as orange. This response remains consistent throughout their life and can be measured using fMRI scans. Think of the brain as a radio with multiple channels. In most people, each sense has its own frequency, but in synesthetes, the channels overlap, leading to an unintended merging of sensory input. Some researchers speculate that clairvoyance, often defined as the ability to acquire information without direct sensory input, could be linked to quantum non-locality. In quantum mechanics, entangled particles remain connected regardless of distance, leading to speculation that biological systems might exhibit similar properties. While no conclusive evidence supports the idea that the human brain operates using quantum entanglement, certain biological processes such as photosynthesis and bird navigation have been shown to rely on quantum coherence. If biological systems can harness quantum properties, this raises the question of whether consciousness could access information beyond classical sensory mechanisms. Studies on quantum coherence in avian magnetoreception suggest that birds navigate using quantum effects in their cryptochrome proteins. If living organisms can process quantum information, it is conceivable, though unproven, that human perception could involve similar quantum effects. Imagine two synchronized clocks separated by vast distances. If adjusting one clock instantly affects the other, it suggests an invisible link between them, similar to how some theorists speculate quantum processes might function in biological consciousness. The brain processes vast amounts of information, often integrating multiple senses to construct a coherent perception of the world. In some individuals, sensory pathways are hyperconnected, allowing for enhanced perception that might be mistaken for extrasensory ability. This is evident in cases where individuals with synesthesia can detect patterns in information that others might overlook. Some researchers suggest that heightened sensory integration might explain certain clairvoyant-like experiences where individuals claim to sense information they technically should not perceive. Some individuals with heightened olfactory sensitivity can detect the faintest traces of chemicals in the air, allowing them to predict rain by detecting changes in atmospheric chemistry long before the storm arrives. Think of human perception as a camera lens. Most people's vision is slightly blurred, but in some individuals, the lens is sharper, allowing them to see fine details invisible to others. While mainstream science has not confirmed human sensitivity to electromagnetic fields, EMFs, studies suggest that some people report experiencing physiological changes when exposed to EMFs, a phenomenon called electromagnetic hypersensitivity, EHS. Some researchers hypothesize that the human brain may have residual abilities to detect electromagnetic fluctuations, similar to how birds use magnetoreception for navigation. The cryptochrome proteins found in human retinas are structurally similar to those in migratory birds, raising the possibility that humans could have an underdeveloped sensitivity to magnetic fields. In controlled studies, some individuals have reported unusual sensations or physiological responses when exposed to weak electromagnetic fields, though results remain inconclusive. Imagine a radio that is barely tuned to a distant station. Sometimes a faint signal comes through, but it is too weak to clearly discern the message. The pineal gland, a small structure deep in the brain, is often referred to as the third eye in mysticism. It regulates melatonin production, controlling sleep cycles, but some researchers speculate that it might also be involved in light sensitivity beyond conventional vision. The discovery of biophotons, weak light emissions from cells, suggests that biological systems may use light for intercellular communication. If neurons communicate using biophotons, this could provide a theoretical basis for non-visual perception. Some have suggested that clairvoyant experiences could be linked to the brain's ability to detect or process biophotonic information. Biophoton emissions have been observed in neurons, leading some researchers to investigate whether the brain could use light for communication, similarly to fiber optic networks. If traditional nerve signals are like electrical wires transmitting information, biophoton communication would be like using fiber optics. Faster and more subtle, but still requiring a mechanism for interpretation. The brain constantly processes subconscious information, detecting patterns and making predictions based on prior experience. Some people who claim to experience clairvoyance may simply have an exceptional ability to recognize patterns and anticipate future events. Psychological research on implicit learning shows that people can detect patterns without conscious awareness, leading to situations where they predict events before they occur. This effect is particularly strong in fields like stock trading, where experienced traders can often predict market movements based on subtle cues. A highly skilled doctor might appear to predict a patient's illness simply by unconsciously noticing subtle physical symptoms that others would overlook. Predicting future events using implicit learning is like playing chess. An expert can anticipate an opponent's moves several turns in advance, even if they can't explain how they knew. Remote viewing refers to the purported ability to perceive distant places or events without physical contact. While mainstream science has not confirmed the existence of remote viewing, some research has investigated whether human perception can extend beyond conventional sensory inputs. One possibility is that people unconsciously pick up on environmental cues that suggest distant events, similar to how animals can sense earthquakes before they occur. Another theory is that the brain operates as an advanced pattern recognition system, synthesizing data in ways that appear paranormal. In controlled studies, individuals have been tested for remote viewing abilities, but results remain inconsistent and lack reproducibility. Remote viewing would be like trying to pick up a distant radio signal without the right frequency. Sometimes random noise appears meaningful. Many groundbreaking scientific discoveries and artistic creations have been attributed to synesthetic perception. Individuals with cross-modal sensory experiences often report enhanced creative thinking, suggesting that synesthesia may play a role in problem-solving and innovation. Some researchers propose that heightened connectivity in the brain could lead to unconventional insights, which might explain why some individuals report visions or intuitions about complex problems. The physicist Richard Feynman described visualizing equations as colorful patterns, allowing him to solve problems in theoretical physics with extraordinary intuition. Synesthetic creativity is like having access to extra colors in a painter's palette. Ideas become richer and more interconnected. While synesthesia is well supplied by neuroscience, clairvoyance remains a controversial subject. Most reports of clairvoyant experiences can be explained by known cognitive mechanisms such as heightened pattern recognition and subconscious processing. However, emerging research in quantum biology, sensory integration, and biophotonics may provide insights into how perception operates at levels beyond current understanding. Ongoing studies in consciousness research are investigating whether brain activity exhibits quantum-like behaviors, though no conclusive evidence yet supports clairvoyance. Science is like a puzzle. Each new discovery adds a piece, but some gaps remain unsolved.